Good evening. This is just Bob Bowman coming at you with another video. I'm taking a break on doing live streams for a while, and I haven't done a video in over a week. So I've just been taking care of business. Actually, I just came from the gym. And no, I didn't drive to the gym. I walked to the gym and I walked back, and I decided to do a video in my car just for a change of scenery and, you know, just so I can feel a little bit more at ease and get things off my chest. But what I wanted to talk about was how my upbringing in Chicago influenced my decision to be a passport brother. Um, First, I want to talk about like my whole background and upbringing. Um, I was born on the south side of Chicago at Roseland Hospital, for those that know and know that neighborhood. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Chicago, the south side. Um, the the way that I was brought in the world wasn't in the best of situations and circumstances, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but those that know. And my father, um, he's ex-military, and he wasn't around, and him and my mother got divorced when I was 3 years old. And I grew up in a very dire circumstance. Like, we were very impoverished. We didn't have a lot. I know that there's certain people that would be like, no, it wasn't like that, but no, it was like that. And there's certain things that I had to experience growing up that I wouldn't wish upon anybody, you know. And I had to deal with the stereotypes of being impoverished or being in a situation that I was in. And because of my skin tone and the way that I talk, everybody assumed that I had money. Even up until recently, like all my life I had to deal with, oh, you light skinned, so you got some money, like I've been robbed a couple of times, once by gunpoint. I've had groups of boys, jump me in the neighborhood throughout my life. uh it was pretty rough. And when I got older, I had the opportunity to leave the neighborhood, like when I went to the military. And I really didn't want to go to the military to begin with. I really wanted some time to kind of figure out what it was that I needed to do in my life, but I had a lot of outside pressures because they wanted to get money out of me and get their situation somewhat stable, and they wanted to use me as a way of doing that. And I had to deal with stuff like that. On top of that, being the type of person that I am, act the way that I act, I had to deal with a lot of rejection, not only from women, but from my peer groups, making friends and things like that. And, having individuals thinking that they can just, boss me around and treat me and talk to me a certain type of way. And, I didn't want to deal with that. Sometimes I dealt with it, and I allowed myself to go through that just for some form of acceptance. But then there was times where I didn't deal with it, and I spent a lot of time by myself and being a target. And when I was in the Navy, like, some of those same patterns kept popping up, and I found myself, being with women that I really didn't want to be with, and, doing things I really didn't want to do just so I could be accepted. And eventually it led me to being discharged from the Navy with a general discharge. Like, I was able to get it upgraded to an honorable 5 years later, but I had to wait, and I had to do my best to be on my best behavior while waiting through those 5 years, because if I would have got in any type of legal trouble, they definitely wouldn't have gave me an upgrade on my discharge. So, it was just kind of rough once I got out. Dealt with the same type of situations, like at that point I had made it in my mind that I wasn't going to deal with anybody that I just didn't really find appealing. And I've dealt with the peer pressures of that and trying to still be with the group while it was obvious that I wasn't liked by the whole group because of the decision that I made. And, I had to learn how to just let things go, let people go out of my life. And it was a rough transition, you know what I'm saying? Like, to know that just because I didn't agree with the placement that they thought that I should be placed at, that they really didn't like nor accept me, and they thought, and how little they thought of me or how little they respected me. It was kind of rough to deal with. And like I have found some friends that fully accept me for who I am. They might make jokes here or there and be like, oh, he's kind of picky, but they accept that I'm the person that I am, and that I'm not willing to like do something that I'm not comfortable with. And that's not to say that I haven't messed with women that I usually wouldn't mess with, but they got to give me a certain vibe in order for me to feel comfortable to even think about doing that, So a lot goes into it. And, some people, they don't understand certain people like me, and they just think that they should be able to run roughshod over me. And once I, defend myself and put up my defenses, they get offended because they like, how dare you? Because who are you? Who do you think you are? You know what I'm saying? And like, I dealt with that for so long, and I've had to deal with the rejections. Like, I saw people that didn't make as much money as me, or wasn't working as hard as me. They were able to attract certain type of women that I wasn't able to attract. And I couldn't be jealous of it. Like, I felt like, damn, what's wrong with me? Why ain't anybody picking me? And I'm doing the best that I can, And like, one thing that I had to stop doing was I had to stop living in delusion. And being in delusion is like, understanding the environment that I live in. It's a poor community. Like the thugs and the gangbangers, and or if you have certain aesthetics, like a six pack, and you're kind of tall, and you're considered handsome, that those are advantages, and I didn't have any of that. I'm not a thug or anything like that. I think it's pretty obvious by the way that I talk that I'm not a thug. So the thugs usually get the first pick of the litter, because of the affiliations and things like that. Not all of them, because you have certain thugs that's because they still, lacking in certain situations and certain circumstances, they still are considered at the bottom, and they have to, and they're pretty much forced to take whatever it is they can get, or they can get in trouble within a peer group. So you have that. And then you have, the guys that have that certain aesthetic that the women are attracted to, so they get a lot of play thrown their way. And then men like me, we're told that, oh, you need game and all this, and we learn these tricks or whatever, and they never work for us. And the reason being is because it goes beyond game. Like, the women, if they want to be with you, they will be with you. It doesn't matter what anybody else had to say about it. If they like you, they like you. And if they don't find you appealing, they're not going to be with you, regardless of what you do, regardless of how clean you are, how hygienic you are, how well spoken you are, how much money you have. Like, none of that stuff is going to matter. And that's just being honest. And I had to be honest with myself and say that in the environment that I am in, I am not what's considered top choice. And that's just being brutally honest with myself. And I had to ask myself, why is it that I'm being treated in this manner? And then I had to come to the conclusion that I'm not well liked. Now, I used to think that if I just work hard, if I just put in the best effort, if I just sacrifice, maybe they'll look at me differently. And I had certain family members that fed me this message as well. And it came to a point in my life where it was shown to me that it was all bullshit. And it was shown to me at an age that most people be like, damn, you just now figuring it out? Like, I was 38 when I figured it out, and it's like, damn, you just not figuring it out at 38? What's wrong with you? Like, no, I kept that hope that it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was, that if I just do the extra steps, if I just make the extra sacrifices, if I just become a part of an organization or a peer group or do extra stuff in the community, volunteer, all that, I would be seen in a different light. And I found out that none of that stuff really matters. Like, the perception of a person usually sticks. And I'm not gonna lie, like, it made me so angry for so long. And I still got a bit of anger in me. And I'm working on it. Like, sometimes I got to take a break from the manosphere because, like, it triggers some negative emotions in me because I see the back and forth that's going on. And I want to say this, like, if I wanted to cause a lot of chaos and make my life miserable as well as a lot of other people's lives miserable, I could have been done that. But I chose peace over creating BS. Because I've had so many people before I moved out of Chicago that tried to make my life a living hell, Like, I tried to live up to the standards that were placed on me, and then you had people saying, oh, you need to protect, this group of women because, they're the least protected. But then when I go ahead and do that, it bit me on the ass really bad. And instead of anybody caring, nobody cared. Nobody. It was just like, oh, well, you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. But if I wouldn't have, they'd have been like, damn, you let this happen to your family member and you didn't do anything. You a coward. So it's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And that's how it is in that type of environment. Also, the block that I lived on, there were 5 people that got killed on that block during the time that I lived in that area. And it wasn't safe for me. I actually got shot at with a paintball one night, and I was thinking that somebody was actually shooting at me, and somebody actually got hit with one of the paintballs. Like me, I ended up diving and hitting the concrete, hitting my hip on the concrete real hard, and I had just finished physical therapy at that point. So I was in like really bad pain, and sometimes I still get pain in that hip from when I had failed, because I'm talking about when I dove like I was running, and then I was thinking that they was shooting, so I just hurried up and hit the deck as fast and as hard as I could because I didn't want to get shot. So going through that, going through the other things, like I had a guy in the neighborhood that he lived in the next building from me. At the time, I was living in an apartment building. And me and him, we were cool. Like, I found out that he was trying to, like, holler at a family member of mine that I'm not going to mention, but she was like, she wasn't interested in him. Like, this dude, he was around my height, but he weighed about 330, 340 pounds, and he was really, really heavy set. And it was a time where he started losing weight. Like he had got his weight like down to 290 at one point, and it looked like he was on the path of getting his weight all the way down. But then when I got around him around the time when I was in my recovery mode, he had gained all the way back and a little bit more. Like he was about 360 at that point. But me and him, we were cool. Like he raps and he does a lot of freestyle, and he was pretty good at it. And like me and him hung out because he was one of the few people that I actually hung out with, because I didn't really want to hang out with too many people because it was a lot of negativity about me that was going around. So I was just trying to stay away from the BS and trying to stay away from all the negativity that was being spread about me. And so with him, he would tell me that he wanted to lose weight and he was trying to work out. And I would do what I could to help him in that situation. Like I was showing him the exercises that I learned when I was in physical therapy, and then me and him would go on walks, and we'd talk about a lot of stuff. Like he was supposed to be in the Word, and at the time I was really heavily studying under the Israelites, and I still consider myself an Israelite or a watchman. So I was studying real deep in it, and me and him would have some real deep conversations about that. And around that time, I had actually sewn some fringes on a few of my t-shirts, and I had a extra t-shirt with some fringes on it, and I had gave it to him, and I had a talk with him because I wanted to be honest with him. I'm like, dude, it look like you done gave up on trying to lose the weight. Like I care about you. I care about your health, and I want to see you get healthy, and I want to, like give you some encouragement because I'm going through the same thing. So don't think I'm judging you. And I actually gave him one of my shirts. It was too small for him, but I gave him one of my shirts as motivation for him to go ahead and lose weight so he could fit it, and it had the fringes on it. And so, you know, everything was cool. Then one day we were walking, and then he just started like talking about some crazy stuff. And he had mentioned a woman that we mutually knew, but we never hung out with her together. And he was asking me all these questions about, oh, I heard she was a freak. I heard she was this and this. And I knew he was trying to set me up to try to get me to say something that was inappropriate about the woman. And I didn't know her like that. And it made me so mad that I wanted to fight him right then and there. But instead of doing that, I just distanced myself. So I was dealing with shady characters like that in the city. I was dealing with people messing with my car. Like I had my car broken into. Somebody stole my license plate off my car. I already told you about the family member and what her significant other did to the last car that I had. So it was just a lot. And every day that I was waking up, I was having chest pains and I was starting to get concerned about my health. I didn't feel respected. I didn't feel loved. And the people that said they loved and respected me, they really didn't. It was just mouth and lip service for most of them. They just wanted to say that so I could continue doing what it is that they wanted me to do. And once I figured that out, I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to live my life to the best of my ability for myself. I'm going to work on getting my health together. I'm going to work on getting my finances together, like getting myself established, because I'm in my 40s now. And what's more important than impressing people is to make sure that I'm together, that I'm straight. Like everybody else that have any negativity concerning me, like I don't need to be around them. If you think that I need to just go ahead and settle for the bottom of the barrel type woman that I'm not interested in. I don't need to be around you. If you think that I'm weird or I'm an incel or I'm any of these things, then just don't be around me. Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. If I wanted to hurt somebody, I could have did that a long time ago. But I had to keep my emotions in check. And I had to be real with myself and ask myself, if I did what it was that I was thinking about doing, how is that going to help me? How's it going to help me hurting anybody? How's it going to help me doing harm to others? All it's going to do is cause a lot of chaos and strife. A lot of people that know me will be upset and disappointed at me. All the people that know the people that I was thinking about hurting would be upset and disappointed with me. I would probably be dead or in jail. And me being dead or in jail, how's that going to help anybody out? Like, what if I was to find somebody to marry in the near future? Like, if I did all that stuff, would I find that person? No, I wouldn't, because I would be either dead or in jail. And so I had to look at the situation in that matter, and I'm living my life to the best of my ability. Like, I'm learning how to accept things for how it is, and not be as angry as I have been, because like the anger isn't going to do nothing but make my life more miserable. Like, I have a lot of stresses on myself. Like, I have stress of work. I had a stress of different family issues that I have. I have a stress of, understanding that there are certain people in my life that I may have to let go of, because we all are going on different paths and different directions. And my father, he told me that I need to learn how to keep my emotions in my back pocket. And growing up, I never understood what that meant fully. Like, I was just thinking that, you just hide it or keep it bottled up. But it doesn't mean that. What it means is that, yeah, I have to be honest with myself with how I feel, and I have to logically evaluate the situation, like using logic to say, hey, yeah, this may hurt, but at the same time, logically, in the grand scheme of things, like, does it really matter? Or in the grand scheme of things, like, is it going to hurt me in the long run to lose these people? Like, is it going to end my life? And it won't. So, yeah, it may hurt. It may be disappointing, but at that same time, you just got to accept it and move on. Like, yeah, it's going to hurt. And I'm not going to say that you should just get over it. Like, let yourself process that pain and that hurt. But then at the same time, you got to be logical about it and say, hey, this is a part of life. To live is to suffer, as DMX once said. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. And sometimes the meaning in people leaving your life is that they were never meant to be a part of it. Like, I have family members that I haven't spoke to in years now. And the reason being is because they're not meant to be a part of my life. Maybe in the future they will be, but right now, no, they're not meant to be a part of my life. And that's okay. Like, it's nothing wrong with being separate from people if they're not being supportive, or if they're causing more chaos and conflict. And it's like, man, I had to let go of a lot of people. Like, to the point to where I let go of the city where I grew up at. Like, I don't ever plan on living in Chicago ever again. Like, God willing, I'm able to leave this state. But I got to take everything one step at a time, and I have to depend on God to move me in the direction that I need to go into. and not to be mad at people because this is the direction that God put me in. Like, yeah, they might have did some foul things or did some things to make me upset, but ultimately, the Most High has the last say. The Most High has control. And it is what it is. And me talking about my experiences like this is helping me with dealing with the situation to the best of my ability. Like, it's not easy. It's tough. It's tough to know that the majority of people in my life, they're not going to be around as much as I would like, and that I need to learn how to be okay with being by myself, and to be okay with loving me if nobody else loves me for who I am. Life is tough. Situations are tough, but I grew up in a tough city like Chicago, the south side of Chicago, and it was real tough growing up in that environment, being the type of person that I am. But I survived it. And I have to give myself more credit for me being the resilient individual that I am, because I am resilient. Like, a lot of things that's happened to me, especially over the last 2 years, a lot of people would have gave up. I almost gave up. I'm telling you the truth. I almost gave up. I almost left my job. I would have moved into like one of them VA housing facilities that they have for the veterans and sharing a room with 2 other men. I was thinking about doing that. But in the midst of all that chaos, I did have a support system of my sister, my father, my mother, my friend International J, a few other people. Like some people that I'm still cool with now, I couldn't be around them at that time because I was having such a hard time and I didn't want to put my burden on them. Like, so I kept my distance from them. And so I had the support system and I had to learn how to navigate through all the negativity that was going on in my life and the negative feelings that I had, and learning how to use logic in order to deal with it. And sometimes it's not easy, like, I understand that, like, things ain't gonna go my way. I do. That's one of the reasons why I got my passport, because I realized that the dating scene here, it isn't favorable for me. And I'm not going to blame women for that. It's just the way that it is. And instead of being mad about it, I have to do what I can do to the best of my ability to be as happy as possible. And I'm learning how to be content with exactly where I'm at. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to make this decision and live this life that I'm living. And that's that. That's how Chicago, that's how Chicago influenced me partially into being a passport brother. I hope this talk that I gave, it helps somebody out there that's listening. Because this life isn't easy. It's pretty hard. And sometimes I don't like dealing with it. But it is what it is. But until next time, this is just Bob Bowman. May the Most High be with you. Have a wonderful evening.